Hi guys. Okay, so I guess we can start and then I can let more people in. But really nice to have you guys all here. I am May and I'm one of the founders of Eric. So yeah, welcome to this event, guys. Welcome to Get Into Advertising. Sorry, I'm just letting a few more people in. So yes, so today is basically, this event is actually part of a series of events that Eric is hosting as part of our app launch. If you don't know who Eric is, we basically bring all of the best careers advice into one place. So we've searched the internet for all the best podcasts, events, articles, videos, so you don't have to. And basically Eric enables you guys to teach yourselves about your own career. And we connect you with companies and educators, just like SCA, who's hosting the session, who have all these incredible opportunities, advice, and who want to connect with young creatives like you guys. So if you are interested in joining, you can sign up for early access today. I'll actually add the link in our website into the chat. And our app, which is going to be on the App Store, that's going to be launching in September. So definitely keep an eye out for that. But anyways, let me hand over to Mark, who is the Dean of School of Communication Arts, the most awarded creative school in the world. So he has an incredible session for you guys today. If you actually pin Mark, so you can find him and then click on the 3 dots and pin him, then he'll basically be on the main, you can he'll be on the main screen. Oh. But anyway, I will hand over to Mark and yeah, enjoy the session.
Thank you so much. It's great to meet you all, and hopefully we'll have a lot of fun together this evening. Kind of, if you feel like it, and you know, if you've done your hair and you look good, feel welcome to put your camera on. You don't have to, but if you feel particularly proud of your t-shirt choice today and you want to put your t-shirt on show, put your camera on. At some stages it'd be nice to hear your voice. If you want to unmute yourself, you might want to ask questions or share feedback, and occasionally, quite a lot later on, I'm going to ask you to type stuff in chat. We're going to be a bit interactive, so let's practice that. Let's practice chat. Go to your chat window and tell me where you're from. Don't tell me your street address. I don't want to come round for coffee yet, but just tell me the first 3 digits of your postcode. Like, I'm in SE5, or if you are in France, write France. Just let me know in chat, just roughly, you know, where you guys and girls are today. Like, where are you? Just in chat, type now. I'm in South Wales. That's amazing. Kingston upon Thames, East 13, East London again. Yeah, we've got a bit of East London. So sorry. And then there's in Greater London. She's DM'd me that, but I'm telling you all that. Broken that confidence. Nice, so we've got a nice old mix. Who's the furthest out? The furthest out is South Wales so far. We'll see if we'll beat that in a bit. Thank you for sharing. As you heard, we are the most awarded creative school in the world, and I'm going to brag that a few times. And I know you've been invited to events from the worlds of PR and so forth. And you'll know that we in the worlds of marketing, we bloody love an award. Like those of you that replied that you live in London, East London or similar, you might know there's a road called Park Lane. If you've played Monopoly, it's the really expensive road in Monopoly, Park Lane. And if you drive down Park Lane, whenever COVID is not happening, there's all these hotels that have ballrooms. And every night of the week, in every hotel on Park Lane, there's a bloody awards event for the ads industry. We love awards. And so therefore, to be able to say we are the most awarded school in the world, it means a lot to the ad industry. It might not mean a lot to you right now, and that's okay. But we use this as a way of trying to suck in more agencies, because agencies, I've got to tell you, they like to collect shiny plastic trophies to show each other how very special they are. It's a really, really weird thing. More about that in a bit, perhaps. All right. What we're going to do today, we're going to talk a little bit about my school and what is advertising. We might talk a bit about that. I don't really like that word advertising. I might try and explain why. I'm going to show you some work, but I'm also going to share a technique today for you to sort of measure how big your ideas are and how successful they're likely to be. So we're hopefully going to learn a technique today about how to check out our ideas and check out ideas that we're hearing from others. And then we'll talk a little bit about, if you fancy it, how to get into the school. So that's the goal, that's the plan. That's a picture of some dying plants just outside our school door. I don't know why they're there, they need watering. So that's that, that's a nice picture. All right, bit of housekeeping. If at any stage you want to ask a question, just stick it in chat or turn yourself off mute and just ask a question. Hopefully you can tell by now, it's going to be quite an informal hour. The more I hear from you, the more hopefully I can make it as relevant as possible for you. I'll introduce myself and I'll introduce my school. I went to this school in 1993 on a scholarship. It's the only school I've not been expelled from. I've been expelled from every other school that I went to. I'm not particularly academic. I don't, for example, have any A-levels. I've never been to university. So I won a scholarship to this great school that was run by a great man called John Gillard, who taught some great creators. And I enjoyed my time at the school. And I left in 1994. And in 1994, I went to Johannesburg in South Africa because Nelson Mandela was about to get elected. And it felt like a really great moment to see a really great man lead a country, a new country. And I wanted to be a part of witnessing it and helping where I could. And so I went to Joburg. When I went to Joburg, I joined an agency called Leo Burnett, and they fired me because my ads were too rude. And so I joined another agency, part of the TBWA network, and they fired me as well because my ads were too rude. And so I started my own agency, and I won't bore you with the whole story this afternoon, but maybe another day I'll tell you a bit more of the story. But that led me into starting my first .com. And I used all the skills that I learned at this school as a student to have a career as a creative starting technology businesses. And from about 1996 to about 2008, I created about £70 million of shareholder value, coming up with ideas using processes that I'd learned at the school. And in 2008, I decided I didn't want to make bankers and venture capitalists more money. Oh my goodness, we've got someone that's joined us from India. That's the furthest, that's the winner. I decided I didn't want to make venture capitalists any more money, and I wanted to do something that would give me more joy and make me feel like happy with what I was doing. As I say, I left this school in 1994 to go to Johannesburg. John, the man that ran this school, he had a disease that was going to kill him when he was teaching me. He had Parkinson's disease. He got very ill running the school, and he retired when I left the school to go to Joburg. He retired, and when he retired, the school closed. And so I reopened the school. I took the decision to do that in 2008, and we welcomed our first students in 2010, and we became the world's most awarded ad school in 2012. And we've been the world's most awarded ad school every year since 2012. And I've now been talking to you for 10 minutes. And I've already mentioned that we're the world's most awarded ad school 9 times. So you can see how important the idea of being awarded is in this narcissistic world of advertising that you may be thinking about joining. And here's more of it. Look at that. We've won 119 awards, big awards, since we got going. The more important stat maybe here is jobs, perhaps, for you. 80% of our students land a dream job at a top agency within 6 months of finishing their studies at the school. They end up working in the top agencies. Most of Uncommon is SCA, most of Wonderhood is SCA, most of McCann is SCA, and so on and so on and so on. We've got a very weird model in our school. There's only 36 students in the London school. There's more in our remote learning course as well. But we've got a faculty in the dozens and a network of mentors in the hundreds, in thousands now. So there's a lot of people getting involved in helping our students learn and grow, and then building that network that's going to help them land their first dream job. And all this is underpinned by an incredible partnership with a network of sponsor agencies who bought into our mission, our vision, our word reciprocity. We believe the most powerful word in the English dictionary is reciprocity. The idea that we should want to put more water back in the well than we took, that we should want to leave the planet in a better place than we found it. That's something that all these sponsors share in common. And they all give us money so that we can fund scholarships and give a very intense level of learning that makes us the most interesting and most awarded 10 times now school in the world. So we're looking for lots of interesting people to join our program, and I'll talk more about that right at the end. But these great partners help make it happen. One of the things that you might notice if you've been to a PR talk or an experiential talk or similar that Eric has put on is these agencies aren't just ad agencies. And we're not a school of advertising. When John created this school in the 1980s, he called it the School of Communication Arts, not the School of Advertising. And when I attended this school in 1993, although it was the School of Communication Arts, really our only choices were advertising. We had TV and radio and print and outdoor, TV, radio and print and outdoor, and TV and radio and print and outdoor. And if you weren't very good and you landed a job at a lower class agency, maybe you did direct mail. That's how it was. That's not how it is now. The world's moved on and we're more enlightened. And John was there first. He didn't call it School of Advertising. He called it the School of Communication Arts. We don't do advertising. We do communications. And sometimes that's paid for communications, what you might think of as advertising. So paid media is some of what we do. But we also do earned media and owned media. The three need to work together. And they all need to sing off that same strategy hymn sheet, that same big idea, North Star. We'll talk about that when we see some examples in a moment. So hopefully what you'll see through the rest of this talk is I'm not here to talk to you about advertising. I lied when I got this booking. Advertising is just the way in, but we're bigger than that. We're communications. And yeah, sometimes we're going to put a commercial in a cinema, and I'll show you some of those. But sometimes we're going to create an experience that people want to get their phones out and film and share with their crowds on social, and that's owned media. Or we want to get James Corden doing something on one of his shows, and that's owned media. Or we want to do a takeover of one of our stores or our client's website, and that's owned media. And we're here to do the lot. Everything is a canvas for a creative communicator. And so very quickly, I want to talk about creativity and my definition, the school's definition of creativity. At my school, we define creativity as the expression of an original idea that provides value. We're very, very clear about this. What you can see in this picture is a piece of street art. And for those of you that live in East London, you can see a lot of street art. And it might be pretty, it might be attractive, it might be creative. That doesn't make it creativity. This street art is creativity. And the reason for that is this street art is showing pictures of babies' faces on a street where there's high crime at nighttime. And when those babies' faces come down on those shutter windows at nighttime, people see babies' faces smiling. And from a behavioral perspective, when you see smiling babies' faces, you're less likely to perform street crime. So this street art is solving a street problem. And therefore, in my definition, it is creativity. Creativity is the expression of an original idea that provides value. So everything that we teach at my school, everything that we practice is in the pursuit of solving problem, adding value. That doesn't mean that we need to always, be green and try to make the world a better place in a woke sort of way. Sometimes just putting a smile on someone's face is enough. But whatever we do, it should be mindfully making the world a better place. I've got a friend called Graham Fink. He's an old famous creative who he made the first £1 million commercial in the 1980s that tells you how old and how legendary he is. And I'm lucky enough that he's become a friend. And he came to do a talk at my school a year or two ago. It must be a little bit more than that now, because it was in the old building where we had a line of toilets. And he went into the first toilet and he looked at the toilet, and my students, being students, they'd left some piss on the toilet seat. And Graham, this man in his 60s that had all this success, he didn't want to sit down on piss, and nor did he want anybody else to either. So he went into every single cubicle and he cleaned every single seat so that nobody else would need to sit on it. And that's what we think of when we think about reciprocity and creativity. It's how can we make the world a better place? What can we do to add value? So the other thing I want to share before I show some work is, if creativity is a big framework of ours, our definition, our guiding light is badly spelt success. Success without the final S. This framework was developed by two brothers, Dan and Chip Heath, and they wrote a book called Made to Stick. And this book teaches us how to spot whether an idea is going to be sticky. And we want our ideas to be sticky because we want them to go from person to person, community to community, village to village, town to town, and end up becoming viral. So Dan and Chip Heath said that there are 6 things that are important in determining whether an idea is big enough to go sticky. And to help us remember those 6 things, you can spell them. They spell the word success with the first letter of each of those 6 words. Simple, unexpected, concrete, credible, emotional, and story. Spell the word success, but without the final S. So simple is, we're looking for ideas that are really, really simple so that you can explain it to a 4-year-old and they'll understand it and they'll be able to explain it to a 3-year-old. It needs to be unexpected because generally people notice things that they weren't expecting to see. They stop and they focus in more. It's a fight or flight thing. It's a survivalist thing that we are trained over tens of thousands of years to keep an eye out for things that we weren't expecting to see. They get noticed. Making things concrete is about helping people remember stuff. For example, people are really bad at remembering long numbers, but they're really good at remembering when those long numbers can help them make meaning of something. I'll give you an example. People don't really understand the concept of exponential speed of change. Those words fly over very many people's heads. And so when you talk about something like global warming, well, people don't tend to understand it. But I've got a friend who made this idea of global warming really concrete and really simple by telling a story about football. And he calls this the 4-minute warning. I'm an Arsenal season ticket supporter. So imagine I'm going to the football and it's raining, and a drop of rain, one drop, falls in the center, the kickoff at the bit right in the middle of the pitch, one drop. And 1 minute later, it doubles, 2 drops. And 1 minute later, it doubles, 4 drops, 8 drops, 16 drops, 32 drops, and so on. By the end of the first half of football, nothing happens. You can't see anything where the kickoff happened. You can't see anything from those water drops. And then the second half of football starts, and still it's doubling every minute. And about halfway through the second half of the football, you start to see a puddle. 4 minutes before the end of the second half, you properly see a puddle. And by then it's too late, because by the moment you see the puddle in the center of the pitch, doubling up every minute, the very next minute you're flooded. Now, I don't know whether that makes sense to you. I really hope it does. The concreteness of 4 minutes, you have a 4-minute warning in a football pitch, hopefully makes more sense than telling you how many liters of water is going to be in that pitch before it's flooded, before you can't get out. If I told you how many liters or gallons, I don't think you'll remember. But I don't think you're ever going to forget now. You've got a 4-minute warning in football. If you see a puddle on the pitch and it's doubling, you better get the fuck out of there. So simple, unexpected, concrete. The fourth thing in these 6 is credible, believable. People are more likely to share information when they believe it. That makes sense, doesn't it? And the fifth thing is emotional. People like to remember information that makes them feel something. If you make somebody laugh, make somebody cry, they're more likely to remember you and share something about you. And then finally, in these 6 things is story. From the very beginning of mankind's history, we've been telling story around fires and passing on knowledge over stories. So these are the 6 things. And I'm telling you this because in a minute, I'm going to show you some ideas. I'm going to ask you to score them out of these 6 dimensions. So I'm going to tell you something about me that I don't know whether it's good or bad. I leave you to be the judge. Maybe you do this as well. I like to score everything out of 10. Do you know what I mean? Like, I like to score everything. Like if I'm listening to a song, I'll score it out of 10. Last night I cooked dinner for my family. My parents came round and I cooked dinner and I scored it out of 10. When players in football, when Arsenal team play, I'll score those players out of 10. Maybe you do the same. Everything I score out of 10. It's just my way. In a minute, I'm going to ask you to score out of 10 some work. And I'm going to ask you to score it out of 10 for how simple it is, and how unexpected it is, and how concrete it is, and how credible it is, how emotional it is, and how much story there is. So we're going to see a piece of work, and you're going to score it 6 times. And that will give us a score out of 60. 10 times 6 is 60. And that will help us work out whether we think an idea is particularly sticky. That makes sense so far. I hope it makes sense. I'm at the moment, you type into chat if you've got any questions or if it doesn't make sense. But what I'm going to do is show you some work that, starting off with work that my students made at school. And I'm going to ask you to give some feedback for that work, scoring it out of 10 in that success framework, that sticky framework that you can see at the top of that screen. We'll do it and I'll direct you in a bit in a chat how to do it. But first, this piece of work. This piece of work is a campaign that some of my students did for a brand of car called the Kia Picanto. Something to tell you about the Kia Picanto. It's not a very sexy car. It's not the best car in the world. It's not the cheapest car in the world. There's nobody that's ever bought a Kia Picanto because it's going to help them get laid. Like, it's just not a very good car. The only thing I can tell you about the Kia Picanto is it comes with a 7-year warranty. And so I asked my students to come up with a campaign to sell the Kia Picanto. And remember, creativity is the expression of an original idea that provides value. So that's the lens that my students are working with. How can we provide value? Now, when you're watching this, what I'd like you to do is just on a piece of paper or on your phone or somewhere, write down 6 numbers. Write down how simple, how unexpected, how concrete, how credible, how emotional, and how much story there is in this piece of film, each out of 10. So you'll have 6 numbers out of 10 at the end of this film, from simple all the way through to story. Here's your film.
car is one of the biggest purchases of your life after your first home. But with house prices rising, saving for a deposit can take a lifetime. With no road tax, no congestion charge, low running costs and the world-beating 7-year warranty, the Kia Picanto is up to £4,000 cheaper to run each year than the average car. We believe that by the time the 7-year warranty is over, you could have saved enough for the deposit on your first home. So we've teamed up with Nationwide to create the Save in 7 account, which is a bank account designed to help you turn those savings into that deposit in just 7 years. Using the Picanto's onboard computer, we can track journeys, working out how much you would have saved. You can then bank the savings from a connected current account to your Save in 7 account. You can view your savings, access all your car information, and find the cheapest petrol and insurance prices. There is a home centre where you can get saving and home buying tips, as well as exclusive mortgage and insurance deals from Nationwide. To tell you about the Save in 7 account, we run a campaign in newspapers. We have outdoor ads. We place banners on property letting sites that react to the house you've been viewing. We sponsor first home Pinterest boards and use for sale signs as media space. And when your Picanto has an MOT, you get a financial checkup to see how you're doing. The Kia Picanto, getting you home.
Right, so an idea by a couple of my students to sell the Kia Picanto. In the chat, on a scale of 1 to 10, how simple was that idea? The idea that buying a Kia Picanto can help you save the money to buy your house. On a scale of 1 to 10, in chat, 1 being not very simple, really complicated, 10 really simple, some 10s and 9s and 8s. Yeah, I think I agree with you. It's really subjective, so whatever you put is right, but it's important that you learn how to give yourself scores on your ideas, and that's what we're going to try and do. How unexpected was it for a car to be selling itself this way? On a score of 1 to 10, how unexpected for a car to talk like this? Just stick it into chat. Again, 10, you're saying? Yeah, maybe. 9, 7, yeah, maybe. 4, Harvey, maybe. 9. Very high is where we're going. How about concrete? How concrete was it? How easy did they help you understand the idea? Bring it to life. 7s and 10s and 8s and 10s, great. And how believable was it that buying this car is a way to save the money to buy a house? On a score of 1 to 10. 9s and 9s and 8s and 10s, great. Rachel's got a 6, 7, Valentina's 4. So it's subjective, some high, some not so high. How about emotion? How emotional was it as a piece of work? 5, yeah, 5, fair. So it's not the most emotional piece. I think we can agree on that. And was there a story? The narrative, buy a car, get a house. Is that a narrative? 3, maybe 8. So it's 6. So it's interesting. Again, we can be subjective with this. But what's important is that we start to be able to measure work, and we will have our own value for how we value things. And as long as we're consistently valuing work the same way, whether it's other people's work or our own work, those values, they can then have purpose. Let's have a look at a couple more pieces of work. Now let's look at a piece of award-winning work, if it matters. This is a piece of work that my students made quite a few years ago now. It's quite old, as you'll see. It was made in response to the Afghan and the Iraq wars. And a great man called Jeremy Gilley came up with this idea of Peace Day, this idea that one day a year, everybody around the world should just stop trying to kill each other. And could we promote this thing called Peace Day? And so this is the piece of work that we came up with. And again, I'd just like you to think about those 6 questions: how simple, how unexpected, concrete, credible, emotional, and story this idea is. Give them a score out of 10, and I'll pick up your scores in just about 2 minutes.
On Christmas Day 1914, all along the Western Front, British and German soldiers put down their guns, climbed out of their trenches, and played football. For International Peace Day, we want video gamers to do the same, so we team up with Electronic Arts, producers of Battlefield 3 and FIFA 12, to create EA Peace Day. Battlefield 3 reaches a huge global audience, mostly young males with traditionally little interest in charity. Weeks before September 21st, teasers start appearing on in-game advertising and on social networks. As the date gets closer, more clues are released, including in-game radio transmissions.
We're looking at ceasefire options. We don't know what's on the table. Proceed as planned for now. Over.
The event is then announced on social networks and the EA website and released to the press. Players access a version of FIFA 12 within the Battlefield 3 environment, playing with their usual character on a football ground reskinned as a war zone. As an incentive, players earn medals which unlock bonus levels for Battlefield 3, only available to EA Peace Day participants. Their progress is broadcast on social media, spreading the word to friends and followers. The event creates a massive spike in Peace Day awareness. It could be the biggest video game story of the year, and Electronic Arts can demonstrate that they have a nuanced, mature view of war and its effects. And its success lays the foundation for future Peace Days, as more manufacturers get involved, spreading awareness to the entire global gaming community.
All right. So whilst I was showing that, I was just thinking, yeah, great. I'm showing you some earned media and some owned media instead of last time some paid media. So hopefully you're seeing, once you've got that big idea, once you've got a problem-solving piece of creativity, our job as communicators is no longer just buy ad space, but it's also like, what can we do inside the client's products and stuff? Anyway, on a score of 1 to 10, how simple was that idea? Stick it in chat. How simple was this idea of using FIFA to tell the story of war? 10, 10, 9s and 10s. Rachel's got a 6, bit of 8s. Cool. How unexpected is it for a charity to be talking this way in FIFA and Battlefield? Score of 1 to 10. Got some high numbers. All right. How concrete is it? How solid is that thought? How do they help you? 8s, 8s, 9s, 8s, 7s. Great. And how about how credible, how believable is it? Great. 8s and 9s. Emotion. Was there much emotion in this idea? The idea of the Christmas Day. Yeah, I think I agree. It was quite an emotional thing. And then finally, story. So perhaps this is performing better than Kia Picanto on emotion and story. Great. All right. So we've seen 2 pieces of work by my students. Now we're going to see another piece of work by just the most incredible agency. This is by BBH, Sir John Hegarty's agency, the man that John Gillard taught long before he taught me. Just a great, great agency. Again, watch this. Score it out of 10 for how simple, unexpected, concrete, credible, emotional, and story you think this piece of work is.
I'm in here. Can anybody see me? Can anybody hear? I'm in here, a prisoner of history. Can anybody I've been waiting for you the sadness I cannot live with inside of me.
I think he's choking. He needs to try and cough. Okay, could you just just come on. How long are they going to be? They'll be here in 5 minutes. They need to be here now.
First aid could help prevent 140,000 deaths every year, the same number of people that died from cancer. Be the difference.
140,000 people die every year in the UK simply because we're so stupid that we don't teach in our schools first aid or insist in our places of work that we learn first aid. The same amount of people that die of cancer. On a score of 1 to 10, how simple is that as an idea? 8s and 9s, 10s, 7s, wow. How unexpected is it? How unexpected was that piece of work? Was there a hook at the end? Did it shock you? 8s, 9s. How concrete was that fact? The same amount of people die every year because of our ignorance on first aid as cancer. It's a really concrete fact, yeah. How credible is it that St John's Ambulance are telling us this? Yeah, I agree. How emotional was that piece of work on a score of 1 to 10? Yeah, I mean, that was a 10. I've had students walk out of my room before because they were so moved by it. And a score of 1 to 10, how much story was there? Yeah. So we can see what sticky work feels like, what a big idea tastes like. We instinctively know as creative people, we know how to score work, how to spot work. We might not yet know the techniques to create that work, but they're just techniques, they're just processes. So of course you can learn those processes. What's important is having taste to be able to spot an idea and know when it's worth pursuing. This is I think the final piece of work I'm going to show before we wrap up and see what this all means for our careers. Again, a piece of work made in the school by students as students. This was from moonpig.com. And I'm showing you this because it combines paid for media, owned media, and earned media. And given an opportunity to speak to you through Eric, I just wanted to make sure I'm using my platform to say to you that you don't have to choose just one. As creative communicators, your job is going to be to have a big idea that transcends every channel. So that people live complicated lives and they'll pick up your idea all the way through their days in all sorts of channels, as I hope you'll see in this piece of work for moonpig.com. Again, as you're watching it, score it out of 10, how simple, unexpected, concrete, and credible, emotional, and story this idea is for you.
On the 23rd of July, Gandhi wrote a letter to the leader of the Nazi regime, Adolf Hitler, urging him to stop the upcoming war. Gandhi ended the request by letting him know that he remains his true friend. He used love to challenge hate. We want the people of Britain to do the same. In modern times, the rights of self-expression are still being compromised. It's Moonpig's belief that everyone should have the right to be who they are and, most importantly, let the world know. We sincerely believe that a personalised message has a greater impact. That's why we're launching the Dear Friends campaign, a petition made personal. We will target people with the power to affect change by sending personalised messages written by our audience. Our first challenge is to change Vladimir Putin's perception of love on Valentine's Day. The Campaigns Hub is an online service based on Moonpig's current mechanics. People can craft their own unique message. They can share their final card on social media to spread the word among friends. We'll introduce our audience to our cause with an open letter signed by Moonpig and running in the UK's most popular newspapers. This will be followed by billboards to raise further awareness. When enough cards have been made, we'll ship them off and make sure they land on Putin's desk for Valentine's Day. The Dear Friend campaign will keep on running, targeting leaders who continuously wrong their followers and send them a piece of their hearts.
All right, so there's the idea. Use Moonpig to love bomb world leaders through petitions on a score of 1 to 10. How simple is that as an idea? Moonpig to love bomb dictators and oppressive world leaders. Yeah, it's quite a simple thought. How unexpected is it for Moonpig to be behaving like that? Yeah, it's certainly high, isn't it? How concrete is it on a score of 1 to 10? Yeah, maybe 9, 7, yeah, maybe. How credible is it that we can get these cards in front of Putin and I don't know, all these words? Yeah, I think maybe a 6. It's a hard one to call, that one, isn't it? How emotional is it as an idea on a score of 1 to 10? Yeah, it's definitely got the right emotion. And then finally, story on a score of 1 to 10. You got the idea. So we can spot what's great about a piece of work and what's not so great about a piece of work, so that if, for example, it's dialing low on credible, then we know that we need to dial up somehow credible in some way in our communications. We need to make sure people believe it more in some way. And that might mean dialing something up in PR or embellishing a line or something like that. So this scoring really helps us later in our editing. Oh, okay, there is one more. Lou's put this in as a treat for you. This wasn't made by students when they were students. It was made by students when they left the school and got a job. So this was made by 2 of my students, Tom and Tom. And if you ever join the school, I'll show you an ad they made in school for Peugeot mopeds that was all about how you can get away from the pigs when you've got a Peugeot moped, and you know, and it's all about sort of living on the estate with your reversible jacket. And the way that they cut that film was how they made this film. It was so exciting to see this being made and know that was Tom and Tom's voice. I'm going to play this for you now. Your last, I think, film from me. How simple, unexpected, concrete, credible, emotional, and story. Oh, sugar.
I've had the longest day, man. You said you were going to come to me, now you're telling me to come to you. I'm not getting on a cycle.
Cycle? That's light work. Man's got to run 2 miles from ends just to get to training. Serious, bro?
2 miles? Really? I have to run all the way from Zone 6 with my school bag.
Oh, you think that's tough? I have to run through Peckham at night!
What's wrong with Peckham?
Oh yeah? Well, I gotta fight these waste man just to play. This is my multi-purpose. Council funded, football, tennis, basketball court,
Fighting? You don't know the meaning of fighting. I have to fight my whole family before I even walk in the ring.
That's nothing. In my family, if you're not in first place and you're considered a failure.
I know, man, you're begging it. I got more chance of getting hit by lightning than going pro. It's mad.
Man.
Are you serious? I've got to get to the biggest game of my life, score a banger, right in the top bins, just to be noticed!
She gets to play with other people. Lucky. No one plays ice hockey in London. I have to be my own team, my own opposition, and my own coach.
Yeah? Yeah? Well, I have to run to training, coach my own coach, carry my whole team, and
and I'm best mates. What with a Roll V?
No, no.
Huh? Morning.
Oh no! Emma played tennis in London!
That's easy. I only get one try to land there. Before getting caught by security! Yeah? Well, I gotta be my own security, cuz.
So, if this goes wrong, I'll break my leg!
Even when I win, I get a broken nose!
Well, if I stop swimming, I'll literally die!
I don't even have a whole back!
I can't lie, I was raised in a struggle. And when it all goes off, I'll be there in a bubble right now. All I wanna do is bubble.
All right, there's a lot to love about that film. Not least, there's a lot of Olympic heroes in there. I guess perhaps the reason that Lou's chucked that in my deck is there's a lot of Olympic gold heroes in that piece of film. But it's also a great piece of film. The idea is it's really bloody hard to be an Olympic athlete living in London, where you've got like council blocks everywhere and parks being sold and schools don't have playgrounds and sports clubs are being shut. It's really hard to be serious about your sport in London. That's what Nike wanted to talk about in that piece of film. On a score of 1 to 10, how simple is that thought? 7, 8, 8, 9, yeah, okay. How unexpected is it for a brand like Nike, who would typically come at you with high value sponsorship partners in its communications? And I know it had Alex Iwobi and Mo Farah and Nicola Adams and one or two other sort of high profile faces in there, but generally, yeah, the casting was different for a Nike ad. On a score of 1 to 10, how unexpected was that as a Nike commercial for you? Okay. How concrete was it? How much did it make you believe, or rather believe, how much did it bring to life, rather, what it's like to be an athlete in London? Yeah. Credible, believable? They had a lot of people in there, didn't they? The boys and the girls that you're seeing on our podiums right now. How emotional was it? Was it funny, scary, haunting? Yeah. Yeah, I score it high on emotion. It still makes me laugh, and I've seen it 200 or 300 times minimum. And how much story was in there? Yeah, it definitely has a sense of story. All right, there they all are. And that's our mnemonic, a way of remembering this framework: success, simple, unexpected, concrete, credible, emotional, and story. Every ad that you now watch when you're watching TV, pause the TV and just ask yourself, what was the idea? What problem was it trying to solve? And how simple was that thought? How unexpected was it? How concrete, credible, emotional, and story? Most of the time, most of the stuff that you're going to see out in the world, I believe you're going to score less than 30 out of 60. Often less than 20 out of 60. If you think about those 4 or 5 pieces of work I just showed you, I think you pretty much scored them all more than 50 out of 60. And I think that's about right. But it tells us that we want to set the bar high. The world is full of shit. Like everywhere you look, you see ugly advertising, ugly buildings, ugly posters from the government. The world would just make the world uglier and uglier. And our responsibility, I think, to try and make the world look a bit better, to put something beautiful into the world that we're proud of. I mean, we might be selling Nike trainers or cars or carbonated, sugary, watery drinks, but we can still make the world a better place when we do it. So I'm summing up, and now just what I want to talk about in my summing up is our journey to make this kind of work that you've just seen. If you join my school, I'm going to assume that you can't make anything on your first day of joining the school. Going to assume that you don't even know what you don't know. And by the end of the year, you'll be making work like you just saw to build a portfolio. We are a portfolio school. So we provide the tools, the skills, the knowledge, the ability, the connections for you to ask the right questions and apply and practice on briefs so that you can start to make ideas and score them to see how sticky they are, so that your portfolio is full of ideas like the ones I just showed you. And if you go to our school's website and hunt down my students' portfolios, you'll see what I mean. Each portfolio will have maybe 6 or 7 or 8 campaigns in it that hopefully you'll score 50 out of 60 for sticky with. So you need a portfolio to get a good job as a creative in advertising. And we'll help you do that in 10 months. Assuming you know pretty much nothing on day one, within 10 months, you'll have it. If you work hard, you'll have a great portfolio. You'll also meet a lot of mentors, a lot of industry people. About 1,000 will visit our school through the year. It's a very creative hub. It's a networky hub. At the end of the year, we'll have something called Portfolio Day. We had ours last week and the week before. For the year just gone, it's where the industry come down and offer our students placements and jobs. And most of our students are going to get about 6 months of London Living Wage paid placements before turning one of those placements into a job. More than 80% will turn that placement into a job within 6 months in a top agency. So that is the journey. Hard work, but a lot of fun, like a lot more fun than most other jobs out there. There are opportunities to get scholarships at the school. Not many, unfortunately. Time's not on your side if you want a scholarship. If you live either in Lewisham or Wandsworth, you can apply for a remote learning, an online learning scholarship. There aren't many left, but apply quickly if you live in Lewisham or Wandsworth and you want a 100% scholarship and a free computer for the remote learning course. If you want to apply for the London school and a scholarship, you've got until the 9th of August, so not long. You've got until the 31st of August to get into the school. The last selection day is the 31st of August, so don't leave it too long to apply. I'm being asked to do workshops. The answer is yes. There are about 350 masterclasses during the 10 months. It's a very intense course. So there are about 350 workshops and masterclasses. And then there are about 70 briefs, of which about 50 are live, coming from those sponsor partner agencies that help support the school. So I hope that answered your question. And if I'm coming to the end, I think this is my final deck, pretty much. If you've got any questions you want to ask, put your camera on or type something in chat or put your hand up on the thing. And I'm here for as long as you want me and cope with me, and I'll try and answer everything. Lucy is asking, is there an age requirement for the school? Is it for people that just left college or university? And my answer to that is, what I love about our school is diversity. And so diversity for us, things like color and gender are very, very important, rightly so, but so is age. Like I've got one of our biggest prize winners this year was a man in his 40s, a recent father for the second time, wanting to reskill, wanting to change his career. I tend not to have too many people at 18 years old, 19 years old. It's good to find your voice and confidence first before coming to a tough school like ours. Our average age is 25. So the most average common age of student is 25. But honestly, all ages, if you're ready, you're ready. So that's the age requirement question. What advice for an advertising portfolio? What's an advice for an advertising portfolio for a fine art student? I think what fine art does is it trains your eye and your taste and it surrounds you with other people who are also practicing their eye and their taste. It's introducing you to more concepts and exposing you to more ideas. And all of that will just make you a stronger creative if and when you decide to come into the communication arts industries. So fine arts, it's a door in, and it can be a really, really useful door in. It's not the only door in, but it can be a really, really useful door in. I hope that's answered your question. Oh God, I hope I get your name right. Kin Sanye, you got your hand up. Have I said your name right?
No, you can call me Claude. It's fine. Thank you for a wonderful presentation. I was just going to ask, how many students do you have that are neurodiverse, and also within your staff intake as well?
Sure, great question. And again, I guess going back to that question on diversity. So we see a lot of neurodiversity amongst our students in different ways, and it displays itself in different ways. Neurodiversity is clearly a spectrum, and manifests itself in all sorts of different ways. For example, people that have ADHD or people that have dyslexia, for example, are on a spectrum of neurodiversity. We think these are superpowers. So we think that seeing the world slightly differently means that often you've had to solve your own problems faster than so many other people, which means that you've developed perhaps muscle memory on how to go out into the world and solve problems. If we go back to my original definition of creativity, the expression of original ideas that provide value, it's no surprise that humans with neurodiverse characteristics are often going to be more natural creatives than perhaps people who are more what society perceives as being, let's say, norm center of spectrum. Now, it's a very tough course at the same time. So there are some people for whom their manifestation of neurodiversity, being in an environment that is high pressure, isn't right for them at that moment in time. And they may be working with support to think about when is the right time, and what tools, resources do they need to put in place to pursue a program of higher education as competitive as the SCA. That was the first part, I think, of your question. The second part was about the faculty. It'd be no surprise to tell you that because creatives are neurodiverse people, that we have faculty that are also neurodiverse. So you'll definitely see that amongst our faculty. We're a very small school. London's only wanting to be 36 students, so we don't have all the resources that a university has, where it can kind of offer counselling and that type of pastoral care. We just do not have that. What we do have is an office who are trained in how to spot signs and support people that may need somebody looking out for them. And in the moment we are concerned, if we have any concerns, we would ask that student to make contact with their support team if they have a support team in place, and we need to make sure that they are then being supported, because it can be a really intense personal experience going through any creative course where your ideas are constantly being put on display. A presentation of yourself is constantly being put on display, and it's hard work, and it can be tiring, and for any of us that can be emotionally draining. We would want to make sure anybody that's got any concerns about this course, that they are coming with a level of support, and that they're helping us be able to support them whilst they're taking this really, really crazy roller coaster journey of the SCA. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you very much.
That's my pleasure. Where can I find a link to the scholarships, please? Yeah, if you just, when you apply, and you can apply on our website, you'll book a phone call with me. Just let me know if you are from Lewisham or Wandsworth and you are applying for a remote learning scholarship, then I can put you through on that. So just let me know when you apply. Lou has just put the details in chat, and you'll also get more information at night. Harvey is asking, do we have night classes or opportunities for people working? And do I think Arsenal will win the league? No, in Arsenal are not going to win the league. If we get top 4, I'll be so happy. Most of our classes are daytime. In fact, all of our classes are daytime. And we would love it if you can attend our classes live. If you can't, they are all recorded. So you can watch them later online, later that day. 3 evenings a week, one of our teachers is available online to answer your calls online. And 1 weekend day a week, one of our teachers is online. So we do provide support for students who have very busy or challenging lives. If they want access to our faculty evenings and weekends, we make that available for them. But yeah, we hope that you can also meet us a lot during the daytimes as well. I hope that answered that question. Have I missed out any questions? Do you experience open days? Lou's shared a taster open day for that, so I hope that's answered that. I'm mindful of your time. It's now 6:35, and I promised you an hour. I'll stick around as long as you've got other questions you want to ask. I've got to go. I'll be in touch about personal partnership. Great. Does anybody have any other questions that they would like to ask me before I hand back? Well, look, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to talk to you about our school and about a career in advertising, and also hopefully share just a really simple little framework in success to help you hopefully have more successful careers with your ideas when you're either having ideas or evaluating other people's ideas. Thank you so much, and whoever your God is, may she bless you. Hopefully I'll see you very soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. That was amazing. I hope everyone enjoyed it. And yes, I will be sending out all of the links for everyone. So yes, have a great night.
Thanks, Mia.
How do I stop recording? Oh.